Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the constant noise, not just around you, but inside you? It's as if the world's endless demands and expectations have turned into a deafening roar that drowns out your own voice. Carl Jung once said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." But when the noise becomes too loud, it's easy to lose sight of that hidden order. For many women today, the external noise isn't only about sound, but about pressure. Pressure to perform, to be desired, to constantly prove worth through relationships and appearances. Society tells you that your value is tied to how visible you are, how loved, how needed. But what happens when the noise inside your soul can no longer be ignored? What happens when the endless chase for approval feels like a cage rather than freedom? You may have started to feel an inner restlessness, a whisper that something is not right. Jung spoke about the unconscious as a hidden part of ourselves that waits patiently to be heard. That inner murmur grows louder as the world's noise overwhelms you. And it's not just discomfort, it's a call, a silent invitation to turn inward. You might be asking yourself, why does it feel so unbearable to be surrounded by people and yet feel so unseen? Why does the constant validation never satisfy? These questions aren't accidental. They mark the beginning of a deep awakening. It is in this unbearable noise that your soul starts to demand attention, even if your mind tries to drown it out. Jung reminds us that your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. This awakening is often painful because it demands facing what you have ignored, your own truth beyond the noise. As you watch this video, I invite you to acknowledge this noise inside you. You are not alone in feeling overwhelmed or exhausted by the endless expectations. There is a deeper order waiting beneath the chaos of your life, waiting for you to listen. The journey begins here, at the edge of unbearable noise, where silence starts to call louder than any shout. When the noise becomes unbearable, something inside begins to resist. It's a quiet refusal, not necessarily loud or dramatic, but a turning away from the chaos. This refusal is the first step toward silence, a deliberate withdrawal from the frantic pace of life that demands constant proving, pleasing, and moving forward. Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." This refusal to engage in the noise is not about giving up or escaping. It is about stepping into your own shadow, your own unknown depths, even if that feels isolating. You may feel the pressure from the outside world, the concerned questions from friends, the well-meaning advice from family, the relentless messages telling you to get out there, meet people, stop hiding. But this is not about hiding. It is about immersion. Immersion into your own inner landscape, which the busy world rarely allows. At this stage, your silence is not absence. It is presence, not emptiness, but preparation. Jung called this part of the journey individuation, where the ego begins to lose control and the deeper self slowly takes command. The ego panics because it fears losing its familiar territory, the roles, the identities, the comfort of external validation. But the soul knows that this withdrawal is necessary. You might feel loneliness. You might wrestle with doubt, wondering if you are wasting precious time, youth, opportunities. The system shouts that you must be in motion, conquering, desired, fulfilled. Yet you find yourself neither lover nor muse, neither wife nor fiancé. You are only yourself, and that realization can be terrifying. But here's what is crucial to understand. This silence is a ritual, ancient and sacred, long forgotten by the modern world. Your body and soul are not on pause. They are recalibrating, reorganizing. In this silence, a new rhythm begins to emerge, subtle yet profound. To you watching now, do not rush to fill this silence with distractions or empty connections. Instead, let yourself sit with the stillness. Jung teaches us that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Accept this refusal as a sacred no, a boundary that protects you from dilution and compromise. This is your inner sanctuary forming, a place where you can begin to listen without interruption, a place where the soul, finally freed from the constant noise, can start to whisper truths that have long been buried. Your withdrawal is not defeat. It is the beginning of a deeper journey, one that many fear, but one that only those ready to awaken dare to take. When you retreat into silence, a strange and often overwhelming pain emerges. It is a pain without a clear name, without a simple cause or explanation. It seeps into your bones, into the spaces where you thought you were whole. This pain is not just sadness or loneliness. It is the grief for all that has been lost. The old versions of yourself, the relationships that demanded your shrinking, the dreams that were never truly yours. Carl Jung reminds us, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This pain is the dark that must be faced, the shadow that refuses to be ignored. It may feel like madness sometimes, a chaos within that threatens to swallow you whole. To you who watch this now, this pain you feel is not a sign of failure or weakness. It is the necessary breaking open of the shell that once protected you, but also confined you. It is the ache of transformation, the bittersweet mourning for the life you thought you wanted or needed. As the world around you expects you to keep moving, to fill the silence with noise, you find yourself stuck between worlds. You are no longer who you were, and not yet who you will become. This liminal space can be terrifying, yet it is a fertile ground for growth. This nameless pain forces you to question, why did I always seek validation outside myself? Why did absence feel unbearable? What parts of me still feed on someone else's gaze to exist? The answers may be uncomfortable, but they are essential. They pull you deeper into self-awareness, peeling back layers of illusion. Remember Jung's words, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The path through this pain is not quick or easy. It demands courage to stay present with your own suffering instead of fleeing into distraction or numbness. But here's the secret. On the other side of this pain lies the possibility of true healing. When you do not run from the darkness, you integrate it. You reclaim the pieces of yourself you once disowned. So, to you watching, who feels this nameless ache, do not fear it. Do not rush to fill the void. Allow yourself to sit with the discomfort. It is your soul's way of calling you to deeper truth. Your pain is not the end. It is the beginning of a profound inner awakening. In the quiet of your inner world, another presence begins to emerge, the shadow. It is the part of you you've long avoided or denied. The hidden fears, doubts, and desires that seem too dark or too painful to face. Yet this shadow does not fade away when ignored. Instead, it grows stronger, knocking insistently at the door of your consciousness. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This darkness is your shadow, and it carries the keys to your true wholeness. To you who watch and feel the stirring of this shadow within, it is natural to resist. The shadow's appearance can feel like a threat to the identity you have built, to the roles you have played. But resistance only prolongs suffering. The shadow must be seen not as an enemy, but as a messenger. Meeting the shadow means meeting your fears of being unworthy, unseen, unloved. It means confronting the parts of yourself that society taught you to hide, the impulses that don't fit into neat boxes. This encounter is uncomfortable and often painful. It shakes the very foundation of what you thought you knew about yourself. Yet in this meeting, something miraculous happens. The shadow reveals itself not only as pain or flaw, but as a source of power and authenticity. It holds the energy of repressed creativity, unspoken truths, and untapped strength. Do not be discouraged if those around you don't understand this journey. Friends may urge you to move on. Family may suggest you stop dwelling on your darkness. But this is not withdrawal. It is integration. It is the deep work of individuation Jung described. The soul's path to becoming whole. You might feel alone in this process, but remember, every great transformation requires the courage to face one's shadow. And it is through this brave encounter that the old masks begin to fall away. So I invite you now, watching in your own silence, to welcome your shadow. Listen to what it has to tell you. There is wisdom in its voice, a call to freedom beyond the constraints of fear. This is the threshold where suffering begins to transform into healing. The shadow is not the end of your journey. It is the gateway. After facing the shadow, you may feel as if you have reached a vast emptiness. It is a silence so profound, it seems to swallow everything. Old patterns, familiar roles, the noise of the outside world. This void can feel like loss, like falling into nothingness. But it is not the end. It is the fertile ground for a new self to emerge. Carl Jung said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos. In all disorder a secret order." This void, this emptiness, is not chaos without meaning. It is the space where transformation happens. To you who watch and stand on this edge, know that this emptiness is not punishment, nor failure. It is the natural pause before rebirth, the darkness that nurtures new light. The soul uses this silence to rearrange itself, to weave a new story from the fragments left behind. You might feel vulnerable and afraid here, unsure of who you are without the identities you once clung to. That is part of the process. The old self must dissolve so the new self can be born. Stronger, freer, more whole. This rebirth does not happen with a sudden burst of light, but with subtle shifts. Small awakenings in your perception. Gentle changes in how you value yourself and others. You begin to feel a quiet power rising, not from external approval, but from your own inner source. This is where you start choosing your path consciously. Not because you need to prove something, but because you recognize your own worth. The body that once sought validation in the eyes of others now rests in the truth of its own rhythm. Many will not see this transformation. They may still expect you to return to old roles or to fill the silence with noise. But you have entered a sacred space where growth is private and profound. This chapter of rebirth from the void is your rite of passage. It is the soul's work in crafting a new identity, one that is whole and unshakable. Remember Jung's words, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." In this quiet void, that privilege is being granted to you. When the rebirth completes, something profound happens. The light within you no longer seeks to be reflected in others. It shines from its own source, steady and unshakable. This light is not dependent on approval, desire, or recognition. It simply is. To you, watching this transformation unfold in yourself or others Understand that this stage marks a new way of being. You are no longer defined by absence or need, but by fullness and choice. Jung reminds us, what we resist persists, but what we integrate transforms. You have integrated the shadows, the silence, the void. You are transformed. This light changes everything. Relationships shift from a need to a sacred companionship. You no longer love to fill emptiness, but to celebrate abundance. Your presence is no longer dimmed to make others comfortable. It radiates at full strength, inviting only those who can meet it without fear. You may notice that some people drift away. They cannot handle the intensity of your true self. And that is not loss. It is clarity. It is the natural sorting of energies, where only authentic connections remain. This is not loneliness, but a new kind of freedom. Freedom from emotional dependency, from external validation, from the pressure to conform. Your body, once quiet, now pulses with a new rhythm, subtler, truer, alive. It is a body that knows itself as sacred space, a temple of the soul. For those of you on this path, hear this. The silence you once feared now carries a voice. The emptiness you once dreaded now holds abundance. The absence you mourned now births presence. This is the culmination of the journey Jung called individuation, becoming the whole, unique self. If this message resonates with you, if you feel that quiet light flickering within, allow yourself to nurture it. Don't rush back to old patterns or noisy distractions. Hold space for your own becoming. And if you've traveled with us through these chapters, remember, every step forward is a ritual of transformation. Every moment of silence is fertile soil. Thank you for being here, for witnessing your own awakening. If this journey touched you, subscribe to the channel and explore previous videos, each one a seed for the soul's growth. You are not alone. You are awakening. If this journey has touched a hidden part of your soul, don't let the spark go out. Keep nurturing your awakening. Subscribe to the channel to walk this path together, where every word is a seed, every silence is soil, and every video a sacred ritual. Explore our previous videos to deepen your understanding and continue this transformation. Share this message with someone who feels the quiet stirring inside, but has yet to find words for it. Remember, you are not alone. The soul speaks softly when the world is loud, and here we listen together.